The Anglo-Saxon Nine Herbs charm, also known as Nigon Wyrta Galdor, is an Old English charm from the 10th century CE, found in the medical compilation Lacnunga. It details the use of 9 herbs for medicinal purposes and is considered a significant example of Anglo-Saxon magico-medical practice. The charm highlights the belief in the power of both medicinal plants and spoken words, associating them with combating disease and warding off evil. The charm lists 9 specific herbs: mugwort, plantain, hairy bittercress, fumitory, chamomile, nettle, crabapple, chervil and fennel. And please see my videos on these other herbs with odes to each of these herbs. The charm is primarily intended to address ailments caused by worms, which can be considered to be disease-carrying creatures of all sorts, and to provide general healing. The charm involves preparing the herbs, often by pounding them into a powder, mixing them with soap and apple juice, and then reciting the charm over the mixture and the affected area. The charm connects to broader themes in Anglo-Saxon culture, such as the importance of numbers, especially the numbers 9 and 3, and the belief in the power of deities such as Woden, although the charm was written in the Christian era. The charm is part of a larger body of Anglo-Saxon medical texts and practices, reflecting a blend of practical herbalism and magical beliefs. The charm has been translated and interpreted in various ways, with scholars focusing on its herbal remedies, magical elements, and connections to ancient Germanic mythology. Although I've given the suggested names of the 9 herbs which are used in the charm, it's not entirely clear what all of the herbs are, as the Old English names are used for some of them, and so there is a little bit of guesswork going on here. Some of the herbs we do know what they are, such as mugwort. Others we're less sure about. The worm that the charm is against can be seen as any kind of disease. It could be a wound or infectious disease that is visualised as a worm or serpent, dragon type creature, which needs to be defeated by the power of the herbs. The power of the herbs is invoked as if each of the herbs is a soldier or warrior, and an army of herbs are invoked to defeat the worm. Runes would likely have been used as well, and the glory twigs could refer to the herbs or to the runes which are invoked. The worm is then... Woden addresses and engages the worm, and using his wonder twigs, which may be the runes, he splits the worm into 9 sections, and each of those 9 sections are then addressed or attacked by one of the 9 herbs. The charm itself consists of some poetic invocations of the powers of each of the 9 herbs, followed by a prose section which discusses the preparation of the herbs. I'm now going to read the stylised English translation by Hopkins. Remember, mugwort, what you brought to pass, what you readied at Reganmeld. You're called Una, that most ancient plant. You defeat 3, you defeat 30. You defeat venom, you defeat air illness. You defeat the horror who stalks the land. And you, waybread, plant mother, you're open to the east, yet mighty within. Carts creaked over you, women rode over you, over the brides bellowed, over you bulls snorted. You withstood it all, and you pushed back. You withstood venom, you withstood air illness, you withstood the horror who travels the overland. Now this plant is called Stuna, she who grows on stone. She defeats venom, she grinds away pain. She's called Stither, she who withstands venom. She chases away malice, casts out pain. This is the plant that fought against the worm. She is mighty against venom. She is mighty against air illness. She is mighty against the horror who travels over the land. You, venom-loath, go now, the less from the great from the less, until for both he receives a remedy. Remember, chamomile, what you brought to pass, what you accomplished at Alaford, that no one should lose their life to disease, since for him chamomile was prepared. Finally, this plant is known as wergaloo, a seal sent over sea ridges to aid against venom. These 9 plants defeat 9 venoms. A worm came slithering, and yet he killed no one, for wise Woden took 9 glory twigs and smote the serpent, who flew into 9 parts. There apple overcame venom. There the worm would never find shelter. Filler and fennel, a most mighty pair. The wise Lord shaped these plants, while he, holy, hung in the heavens. He sent them from the 7 worlds, 7 ages of man, for wretched and wealthy alike. She stands against pain, she stands against venom. She is potent against 3 and against 30, against a foe's hand, against great guile, against malice and bewitchment from animal and spirit. Now, may the 9 plants do battle against 9 glory fleers, against 9 venoms and against 9 air diseases, against the red venom, against the running venom, against the white venom, against the blue venom, against the yellow venom, against the green venom, against the black venom, against the blue venom, against the brown venom, against the purple venom, against worm blister, against water blister, against thorn blister, against thistle blister, against ice blister, against venom blister. If any venom comes flying from the east, or any comes from the north, or any from the west over folk. Christ stood over illness of every kind, yet I alone know water running where the 9 serpents guard. Now may all plants arise, seas ebb, all salt water, when I blow this venom from you. Ingredients: mugwort, whey bread open to the east, lamb's cress, venom-loath, chamomile, nettle, sour apple of the wood, filler and fennel, old soap. Prepare and apply the salve. Work these plants to dust and mix them with apple mush. Make a paste of water and ashes. Take fennel and mix the plant into the boiling paste. Bathe the wound with an egg mixture, both before the patient applies the salve and after. Sing the above Galdor over each of the 9 plants. Sing the Galdor 3 times before the patient self-applies the salve. And sing the Galdor 3 times on the apple. Sing the Galdor into the patient's mouth. Sing the Galdor into each of the patient's ears, and before the patient applies the salve, sing the Galdor into the patient's wound. So this charm appears to be one to combat various different types of disease, wounds, infections, and even plagues and pandemics. It involves singing the Galdor being a spoken charm, and evoking the powers of the herbs through the Galdor. So the herbs themselves, some of them we know what they are, others are less clear. Mugwort is, in the Old English, muckgwert, and this plant also appears to be referred to as una, which only occurs here in this poem, and the meaning of that word is unknown. Likewise, the place name Regenmeld is unknown where that is. The next plant, wegbraid, is translated as plantain. And then we have lombacris or lamb's cress. The next plant is atolade, a compound meaning venom-loath, and it's unclear what this plant actually is. Then there's megadhan and mego, or methi, which is translated as chamomile, and a place name of Aloford is given, which remains otherwise unknown. Then there's netelen and stunna and stida. So netelen is the nettle, whereas stunna and stida, these words only occur in this poem, and the meaning of those words is lost to us. They both may refer to the nettle, but could refer to other plants. So it's not entirely clear how many plants are actually mentioned within this charm, although it is generally these days called the Nine Herbs charm. The charm itself in the original manuscripts does not have a title. The next herb is Woden's surapple, wood sour apple, or forest sour apple, or crab apple. And it's also called wyrgaloo, a word that only occurs here, and the meaning is unknown. And then the next one is fillet. The identity of this plant is unclear, but it's thought to be chervil. And lastly, fennel, which is the fennel. So I do intend to examine this poem in more detail in a later video. So please do keep an eye on my channel. And if you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel.